I watched my manager's finger hover over the mute button, his face pale under the fluorescent lights. On the screen, 3 executives from our biggest client stared back, waiting for an answer I'd been about to give. "Selin, you're off this call," he said, clicking mute. "You're too blunt for executives." I nodded. Calmly. Picked up my laptop and walked out while he stumbled through a non-answer that would cost Bright Technologies everything. 3 days later, he burst into my office at 6:47 a.m., sweat beading on his forehead. "Why are they furious now? What did you do?" I hadn't done anything. That was the problem. And by the time the sun set that Friday, my manager would understand exactly what happens when you silence the only person who actually knows how to save a $340 million contract. High-stakes context. Let me take you back 4 weeks. Bright Technologies had just landed the Cordova Systems Integration Project, 18 months of work, our largest contract in company history. The deal involved migrating their entire enterprise infrastructure across 14 international offices. Complex didn't begin to cover it. The technical specifications alone ran to 487 pages, with another 200 pages of appendices covering custom protocols we'd spent 2 years developing specifically for their security requirements. I'd been with Bright for 11 years. Started as a junior systems architect, worked my way to principal technical lead. I knew every line of code in our proprietary middleware. I'd written most of it. More importantly, I knew Cordova's chief technology officer, Helen Voss, from a previous company. We'd built something similar together in 2019. She trusted me. Not Bright Technologies, me specifically. That trust was documented in Appendix K, Section 4.2 of the Master Contract. A clause I negotiated personally. It stated that any major technical escalations required my direct involvement in resolution discussions. Helen had insisted on it after watching me salvage a failing project at our old firm. The clause was buried deep enough that most people skimmed past it, but it was there. Legally binding. My manager, Garrett Voss, no relation to Helen, unfortunately for him, had joined Bright 8 months ago. He came from a marketing background, got promoted into technical operations because he interviewed well and knew the right buzzwords. He didn't understand systems architecture. He didn't understand client relationships. What he understood was corporate politics and the importance of managing up. Which meant when problems emerged, he cared more about how things looked than how they actually worked. Inciting insult. The escalation call was scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Cordova's infrastructure rollout had hit a critical snag. Our middleware wasn't communicating properly with their legacy authentication systems. Their Milan office was completely locked out. Productivity had stopped. They were losing approximately $180,000 per hour. I'd already identified the issue. A misconfigured certificate chain on their end, plus a timeout setting in our code that needed adjustment. 20 minutes of work, maybe 30. But I needed to walk their team through it because their administrators weren't familiar with our protocols. Garrett insisted on joining the call. Executive visibility, he called it. The call started badly. Cordova's chief information officer, a man named Ian Sutherland, was furious. He didn't want explanations. He wanted solutions. I started walking through the fix, keeping my language direct and technical. "Your certificate authority isn't in our trust store," I said. "We need to add it, then adjust the timeout parameter from 30 seconds to 90. Your network latency between Milan and your primary data center is causing." "This is a problem with your software," Sutherland interrupted. "Your system should handle this automatically." "It would," I replied, "if your security team hadn't implemented a non-standard certificate hierarchy without informing us during the integration phase. That's documented in the Phase 2 review notes I sent in August. We can fix it now, but I need access to." Garrett unmuted himself. "What Selin means," he said, his voice dripping with corporate smoothness, "is that we're committed to finding a collaborative solution that addresses everyone's concerns. We value this partnership and—" "I don't need a speech," Sutherland cut him off. "I need my Milan office operational." "Selin, continue." I continued. Explained exactly what needed to happen, in what order, with what timeline. Sutherland's technical lead was taking notes. We were 30 seconds from resolving the entire crisis. Then Garrett muted us. Killed our video feed. Turned to me in our conference room. You're being too blunt, he said quietly. These are C-level executives. You can't just tell them their team made a mistake. You need to soften it. Make it collaborative. They don't want it softened, I said. They want their system working. You're off this call. His voice was firm now. Final. I'll handle it from here. I looked at him for 3 seconds. His jaw was set. His eyes had that gleam of someone who thinks they're making a brave management decision. Understood, I said. I collected my laptop. Walked out. Left him alone with 3 executives who knew exactly what they needed and had no patience for corporate doublespeak. Immediate consequence and apparent loss. The rest of Tuesday was quiet. I worked from my office, door closed, handling smaller projects. Around 4 p.m., I got an email from Garrett with the subject line Expectations Discussion, tomorrow 9 a.m. The meeting the next morning was short. We need to talk about your communication style, Garrett began. He sat behind his desk, hands folded. Professional. Yesterday's call demonstrated a pattern I've observed. You're technically competent, no one disputes that, but you lack the polish required for executive-level interactions. The client specifically requested my involvement, I said. And we'll provide it, appropriately mediated. Going forward, all client escalations come through me first. I'll determine when and how you're involved. Are we clear? Very clear. Good. Now, separately, and this is important, Selin, I need you to be more mindful of our company culture. Professional appearance matters. It signals respect. He gestured vaguely at my outfit. I was wearing black pants and a gray sweater. Clean. Professional. Comfortable. I'm not sure what you mean, I said. The company handbook specifies business formal for anyone in a leadership position. You're a principal lead. That means blazers, formal shoes. Not. He paused, casual attire. I'm not trying to be difficult, but standards exist for a reason. I'd read the handbook. That particular dress code applied to client-facing meetings and formal presentations. Not general office work. But I didn't argue. Noted, I said. I'm glad we had this talk. He smiled. Warm. Managerial. You're valuable to this team, but you need to understand how things work at this level. I stood. Walked back to my office. Sat down and looked at the photo on my desk, my daughter at her college graduation last spring. Then I looked at my inbox. 43 unread messages. 6 from various Cordova technical leads, all marked urgent. 3 from Helen Voss directly. I didn't open them yet. Instead, I opened the master contract PDF. Found Appendix K, read section 4.2 again, carefully. Then I opened my personal files, the ones I kept on an encrypted external drive. 11 years of technical documentation. Client relationship notes. Every custom protocol I developed. The institutional knowledge that didn't live in any official company repository because it had grown organically, maintained in my head and my private reference materials. I spent the next hour making backup copies of everything. Not to take with me, not yet, but to organize. Clarify. Understand exactly what I had. At 5:30 p.m., Garrett sent another email. Subject, termination of employment effective immediately. The body was brief. My casual disregard for company standards, combined with my inability to collaborate appropriately with management, had resulted in the decision to end my employment. I had until end of business to collect my personal belongings. My access credentials would be deactivated at 6 p.m. HR would contact me about final paperwork. He'd copied his boss, the VP of Operations. A man named Oliver Wright who I'd met exactly twice in 11 years. I read the email 3 times. Then I packed my things. The photo of my daughter. A coffee mug she'd given me. A small succulent plant that had somehow survived on my windowsill. My external drive, my personal notebooks. The office was nearly empty. A few people glanced at me as I carried my box to the elevator. No one said anything. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from Helen Voss. Selin, what's happening? Why aren't you responding? We need you on tomorrow's technical review. This is urgent. I sat in the driver's seat, box on my lap, and typed a careful reply. I've been let go from Bright Technologies, effective today. I'm no longer authorized to work on your account. I'm sorry. Her response came within seconds. What? Call me. Now. Calm withdrawal and silent preparation. I called her from my living room, a glass of wine already poured. The evening light was soft through my windows. Quiet. Peaceful. They fired you? Helen's voice was sharp. Disbelieving. Why? My manager felt I wasn't a good cultural fit, I said calmly. Communication style issues. That's insane. You're the only reason we signed this contract. You know that, right? The board was skeptical about Bright, but I pushed for them because of you. I know. Section 4.2, she said immediately. The escalation clause. You negotiated that specifically to protect this. I did. There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing, thinking. What do you need? She asked finally. Nothing right now. I need to think. But Helen, if you have problems over the next few days, ask specifically for documentation of who's authorized to handle your account. Make them show you the technical credentials and experience of whoever they assign. They don't have anyone like you. No, I agreed. They don't. We talked for another 20 minutes. She told me about the Milan situation, still unresolved. Garrett had promised a solution by Wednesday morning. It was now Wednesday evening. No solution had materialized. Their technical team was furious. Sutherland was escalating to the CEO. I want you to know, Helen said before we hung up, that we're reviewing our options. This contract has performance clauses. If Bright can't deliver technical leadership as specified, we have remedies. I'm aware, I said. Those are in Appendix M. After we hung up, I spent the evening organizing my files. Not frantically, methodically. I created a comprehensive technical documentation package. Everything Cordova would need to understand the integration, system architecture diagrams, custom protocol specifications, troubleshooting guides. The knowledge that existed nowhere in Bright's official files. Then I updated my resume. Added recent accomplishments. Clarified the scope of my work. By 10 p.m., I felt calm. Centered. I'd spent 11 years building something valuable. That value didn't disappear because someone failed to recognize it. I slept well that night. Offstage fallout and rising panic. Thursday morning, my phone started ringing at 6:47 a.m. I was making coffee when Garrett's name appeared on my screen. I let it go to voicemail. He called again immediately. Voicemail again. Then a text, urgent. Need to speak with you. Please call back. I finished making my coffee. Sat on my couch. Checked my personal email. 3 messages from various people at Bright. 1 from Oliver Wright, the VP. 2 from HR. All marked high priority. I didn't open them yet. Instead, I checked LinkedIn. Someone had updated Garrett's profile overnight. Still listed as Technical Operations Manager at Bright Technologies. Still smiling in his professional headshot. Unaware that his world was crumbling. My phone rang again. Helen boss this time. I answered. Just wanted to let you know, she said, her voice carrying a hint of satisfaction, that we've formally invoked Section 4.2. Sent a letter to Bright's CEO this morning. All technical escalations must be handled by you personally, per contract. If they can't provide you, they're in breach. We're suspending all integration work until this is resolved. How did they respond? Haven't yet. But I got a panicked call from your former manager at 6:30 a.m. asking why we were suddenly hostile. I told him we weren't hostile. We were holding him to the contract he clearly never read. I smiled despite myself. He probably didn't read it. Not my problem. Oh, and Selen? I've been talking to some people. About opportunities. Are you interested in hearing about them? Very interested. I'll be in touch. After we hung up, I finally opened the email from Oliver Wright. The subject line was, urgent matter requiring your immediate attention. The tone was different from Garrett's termination email. Conciliatory. Confused. He wrote that there seemed to be a misunderstanding about my employment status. Could I please call him to discuss? At my earliest convenience? I didn't call him. Instead, I went for a run. 3 miles through my neighborhood, the morning air cool and sharp. When I got back, I had 17 new messages. Private alliance with powerful ally. Friday afternoon, I met Helen at a small restaurant downtown. Not flashy, just expensive in the quiet way that signals serious business. She was already seated when I arrived, 2 menus on the table. You look relaxed, she said as I sat down. I am. Good. Let me get straight to it. Cordova is done with Bright Technologies. We're terminating the contract. We have legal grounds, multiple breaches of technical requirements, failure to provide specified personnel. Our lawyers are drafting the paperwork. I nodded slowly. That's a big decision. It's the right decision. They've demonstrated incompetence at every level. But here's the thing, Selin. We still need this integration done. We've invested too much to walk away from the project entirely. We need the work completed, just not by them. You're bringing it in-house? Partially. We're hiring an independent consulting team to finish the migration. Small, specialized, expert level only. And we want you to lead it. She slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Inside was a consulting contract. The daily rate made my eyes widen slightly. This is generous, I said. It's appropriate. You're worth it. The contract runs for 12 months, with possible extension. You'll work directly with our executive team. Full autonomy on technical decisions. We'll also need you to provide documentation of everything Bright was supposed to deliver, since they clearly don't have it properly organized. I have that documentation, I said. Comprehensive. Of course you do. She smiled. One more thing. We're not the only ones interested. I've spoken with 2 other companies in our consortium. Both are having issues with Bright on different projects. Both want to know if you're available for consulting work. This could be the start of something significant. I looked at the contract again. The numbers. The terms. The respect embedded in every clause. When do you need an answer? Today would be ideal. We're announcing the termination of Bright's contract on Monday morning. I'd like to announce your engagement simultaneously. Shows continuity. Reassures our board. I picked up my pen. Signed 3 places. Initialed 4 more. Done, I said. We ordered lunch. Talked about the technical requirements, the timeline, the specific challenges ahead. Helen was thorough. Brilliant. This was the kind of work relationship I'd been missing at Bright, mutual respect between equals who both understood the complexity of what we were building. As we finished, she leaned back in her chair. I want you to know something, she said. When I heard they'd fired you, my first reaction was rage. Pure, professional rage. You don't treat talent like that. You don't dismiss expertise because someone's ego is fragile. Garrett made a catastrophic mistake, and I'm going to make sure everyone in this industry knows it. That's not necessary, I said. Maybe not for you. But it's necessary for the principal. People like him need to learn that competence matters more than politics. Repositioning of protagonist power. The weekend was productive. I set up a home office space properly, better desk, second monitor, professional lighting for video calls. I reviewed all of Cordova's technical requirements and started building a project plan. By Sunday evening, I had a clear roadmap for the next 12 months. Monday morning, I woke up naturally at 7 a.m. No alarm. Made coffee slowly. Checked my email. Bright Technologies had sent an official communication to Cordova at 6:15 a.m. The email, which Helen forwarded to me, was from Oliver Wright. It attempted to smooth things over, apologized for communication difficulties, promised immediate attention from their senior technical team, assured Cordova that all contractual obligations would be met. At 8:30 a.m., Cordova's legal team responded. Their email was brief and devastating. They outlined 3 specific breach conditions, cited the relevant contract sections, and announced immediate termination. The termination penalties alone would cost Bright approximately $47 million. Helen also sent a press release that went out at 9 a.m. It announced Cordova's new technical consulting arrangement, highlighting the engagement of industry-leading expert Selin Rafsun to complete their enterprise integration. The release emphasized continuity and expertise. My phone started ringing at 9:07 a.m. Garrett again. Then Oliver Wright. Then an HR director. I ignored all of them. At 9:45 a.m., my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Garrett standing on my porch, looking like he hadn't slept. His shirt was wrinkled. His eyes were red. "Can I come in?" he asked. "No," I said calmly. "Selin, please. I need to talk to you. This is a disaster." "Do you know what's happening?" "I know exactly what's happening. Cordova terminated our contract. 47 million in penalties. The CEO is losing his mind. Oliver is threatening to fire me. They're saying this is my fault, but," he stopped, breathing hard. "They're saying you were specifically named in the contract. That we violated terms by removing you from the account. Is that true?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" I looked at him for a long moment. "You fired me before I had the chance. But also, Garrett, it was in the contract you were supposed to have read. Section 4.2, Appendix K. I negotiated it specifically because Helen Voss wanted assurance that I'd be involved in technical decisions. It's been there for 2 years. I didn't," he started, then stopped. "We need you back. Name your price. Anything. We can fix this." "No. Selin, please be reasonable. I made a mistake. I admit that. But you can't this is millions of dollars. People's jobs. The company could go under. That's not my problem anymore." "Yes it is." His voice rose, cracking slightly. "You have a responsibility. You worked here for 11 years. You can't just walk away and let everything collapse." "I didn't walk away, Garrett. You fired me. For not wearing a blazer. For being too blunt with executives who specifically requested my blunt expertise. You made a series of choices based on ego and ignorance, and now you're facing consequences. That's not my responsibility to fix. You're being vindictive." "No, I'm being clear. Which, if you remember, was one of your complaints about me." He stood there, mouth opening and closing. "Finally, what do you want? Money? A promotion? VP title? We can make this work." "I already have work," I said. "Better work. With people who value what I do. Cordova hired you." It wasn't a question. His face went pale. "That's why they terminated us." "You told them to." "I didn't tell them anything. I provided information when asked. They made their own decision based on your company's inability to deliver contracted services. He stopped. Closed his eyes. "I'm going to be fired. You know that, right? This is my career." "Yes," I said simply. "And you're fine with that?" "Garrett, you fired me over a dress code violation that didn't exist. You removed me from a critical client call because your ego couldn't handle me doing my job effectively. You created this situation entirely on your own. I'm not fine with it or not fine with it. I'm just watching it unfold." He turned away. Walked back to his car. Paused with his hand on the door. "I thought you were a professional," he called back. "I am," I replied. "That's why I'm still working." "You're confusing professionalism with compliance. They're not the same thing." He drove away. I went back inside and finished my coffee. Public confrontation scene. Tuesday morning, Oliver Wright called from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "Selin, it's Oliver Wright from Bright. Please don't hang up. I'm listening. We need to meet. In person. Today if possible. I'm prepared to offer you whatever it takes to resolve this situation." "What situation?" "Don't play games. Please. Cordova terminated our largest contract because you were removed from the project. That's obvious to everyone now. We need you to contact Helen Voss and tell her you're back at Bright. We'll restore your position, increase your compensation, give you complete autonomy." "I'm not interested. You haven't heard the offer yet. I don't need to. I have other commitments. We can buy you out of those commitments. Whatever Cordova is paying you, we'll double it. Triple it. We'll make you VP of Technical Operations. Garrett reports to you. You have full authority over all client accounts. I was quiet for a moment. You want me to accept a promotion to supervise the man who fired me? I want to save this company. We're looking at a potential cascade. 2 other major clients are reviewing their contracts with us. If they terminate too, we're facing bankruptcy. Hundreds of jobs. You have the power to stop this. No, Oliver, I don't. You have the power to stop hiring incompetent managers. You have the power to read the contracts you sign. You have the power to build a company culture that values expertise over optics. Those are your decisions, not mine. So you'll just let it all burn? I didn't start the fire. He breathed heavily on the other end. In-person meeting. 1 hour. Let me show you what we're prepared to offer. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Partly from curiosity. Partly because I wanted to see how desperate they truly were. We met at their headquarters at 2 p.m. Not my old office, they'd moved me to a large conference room on the executive floor. Glass walls. Expensive furniture. The kind of room where major decisions happened. Oliver was there with 2 other executives I recognized vaguely. And Garrett, sitting at the far end of the table, looking like a condemned man. Thank you for coming, Oliver began, standing as I entered. I know this is uncomfortable, but I wanted to speak with you face to face. To understand your perspective and find a path forward. I'm here as a courtesy, I said, sitting down. I have 20 minutes. He slid a folder across the table. Much thicker than Helen's had been. VP of Technical Operations, he said. $340,000 base salary plus performance bonuses. Stock options. Complete autonomy over technical decisions. Report directly to me, not through any intermediate management. You choose your team, your projects, your approach. I opened the folder. Read quickly. The offer was substantial. Genuinely generous. Exactly the kind of recognition I deserved years ago. This is impressive, I said. Oliver smiled slightly. We recognize your value, Selin. We always have. This situation made us realize we hadn't formalized that recognition appropriately. You recognize it now, I said. After I left. After your biggest client terminated. After you're facing financial catastrophe. That's not recognition. That's panic. Does the motivation matter if the outcome is right? Yes, actually. It does. Because this offer is based on crisis, not respect. If Cordova hadn't terminated, would we be having this conversation? Silence around the table. I thought not, I continued. And that's the fundamental problem. You don't value expertise until it's gone. You don't respect institutional knowledge until it costs you millions. You hired managers who can't tell the difference between real competence and corporate performance. And now you want me to fix that. We're offering you the power to change our culture, Oliver said. Culture doesn't change from one person. It changes from leadership decisions, consistently applied. You'd need to fire half your management team. Restructure how you evaluate performance. Rebuild client relationships based on honesty instead of polish. Are you prepared to do that? Another silence. I didn't think so. Verbal execution of opponent. Garrett finally spoke. His voice was quiet, defeated. Selin, I apologize. I was wrong. I didn't understand what you brought to the company. I made a terrible mistake, and I'm asking, begging, for a chance to make it right. I turned to look at him directly. What specifically were you wrong about? He blinked. I shouldn't have fired you. More specific. I shouldn't have removed you from the Cordova call. Keep going. His face flushed. I didn't respect your expertise. I prioritized optics over substance. I let my own insecurities drive bad decisions. There, I said. That's the first honest thing you've said to me in months. You want to know why I'm not coming back? It's not just about you firing me. It's about the 9 months before that. Every time you second-guessed my technical judgment. Every time you made me justify decades of experience to someone who didn't understand the basics. Every time you chose corporate theater over actual problem-solving. I was trying to protect the company's reputation, he said weakly. You were protecting your own reputation. There's a difference. When a client is losing $180,000 per hour, they don't want soft language. They want solutions. But you couldn't see that because you were too busy performing management instead of actually managing. Oliver cleared his throat. Selin, Garrett's mistakes aside, we need. No, I interrupted, looking back at him. You don't get to separate Garrett's mistakes from the systemic problem. You hired him. You promoted him into a technical leadership role despite his complete lack of technical background. You created an environment where people like him thrive and people like me get fired for not pretending incompetence is acceptable. That's on you. We're trying to fix it. You're trying to avoid bankruptcy. That's not the same as fixing anything. I stood up. Closed the folder without signing anything. I appreciate the offer, I said. Genuinely. It would have meant a lot if it had come 3 years ago when I first brought these issues to HR. Or even 6 months ago when I documented concerns about Garrett's management approach. But now? It's too late. Not because I'm angry, I'm not. But because I've moved on to something better. Better than $340,000 and a VP title? Oliver asked. Yes. Better than working for people who only value me when I have leverage. Better than spending my energy fixing problems that never should have existed. Better than teaching basic respect to managers who should already understand it. I walked toward the door. Paused. Turned back. One more thing, I said, looking at Garrett. You told me I was too blunt for executives. That I needed to soften my communication. Do you want to know what Helen Voss said when she hired me? He didn't answer. She said she valued my directness. That in 11 years of working together, she'd never once wondered what I actually meant. That clarity was the foundation of trust. Your problem, Garrett, wasn't that I was too blunt. It's that you were too insecure to handle honesty. I left. The elevator doors closed on Oliver's face, stunned, calculating. Defeated. Aftershock and professional begging. Over the next week, the calls and emails continued. Not just from Bright Technologies, from other companies too. Word had spread through the industry about what happened. I became, somewhat uncomfortably, a minor legend in technical circles. The expert who'd brought down a major firm because they didn't read their own contracts. I received 3 more job offers. 2 consulting requests. An interview request from a trade publication. All of it felt surreal. Helen sent me a message on Thursday, just heard from 2 colleagues at other companies. They're pulling their contracts with Bright too. Apparently they all have similar clauses requiring specific technical personnel. Bright never tracked who those people were. Several got fired or quit. It's a complete collapse. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Not quite satisfaction, more like watching a preventable disaster unfold in slow motion. Friday afternoon, my doorbell rang again. I assumed it was another desperate visit from someone at Bright. Instead, it was a courier with a letter. The envelope was heavy, expensive paper. Inside was a handwritten note from Bright's CEO, a man named Terrence Holloway who I'd never actually met despite 11 years at his company. The note was brief. Ms. Rafson. I've spent the past week understanding what happened. You deserved better than what you received from our company. I won't insult your intelligence with excuses or offers. I'm writing only to apologize and to tell you we're implementing structural changes to ensure this never happens again. I hope you find satisfaction in your new work. Terrence Holloway. No job offer. No negotiation. Just an apology. It was the only message from Bright that felt honest. The following Monday, I officially began as Cordova's lead technical consultant. The contrast was immediate. Executives asked technical questions and waited for real answers. No one asked me to soften language or simplify conclusions. They wanted clarity, and they trusted me to deliver it. We accomplished more in 1 week than Bright had in 3 months. On Friday, Helen called. The board was thrilled. They were already discussing extending my contract, possibly bringing me on permanently in a senior architecture role. I told her I valued the flexibility, but appreciated the confidence. Then she added, almost casually, that Bright was restructuring, selling off its technical division to avoid bankruptcy. Most senior leadership was gone. 6 months later, I saw the headline while reviewing documentation in a cafe. Bright Technologies acquired, technical division dissolved. The article traced the collapse, lost contracts, destroyed reputation, a fire sale acquisition. My name was mentioned as the inflection point. Terminating me had triggered contractual penalties exceeding $100 million. Former colleagues reached out. Most didn't blame me. They blamed leadership. I shared opportunities where I could. Garrett, I heard, struggled to find work. His name had become shorthand for misjudgment, the executive who mistook confidence for competence. I felt no triumph. Just confirmation. Consequences, eventually, find the people who earn them.